Grand Theft Auto 5 is a ridiculously anti-criminal game. And I'd argue, despite all the guns, prostitutes, drugs,
Mr. White,
money, and Lamar,
Yee ass haircut.
not only does it not glorify any of that, but it goes far the opposite direction, painting a pretty dark and realistic picture of the world, masked with the vivid colors and the hyperbole of Los Santos. Now, I have to be honest though, GTA 5 wasn't even my favorite in the series until pretty recently when I replayed it and discovered what's probably the most basic understanding of the whole game, but for some reason it just went over my head, which is that every single character, event, mission, and encounter all create this big stage parody. And surprisingly, that parody is biased against crime and criminals. Well, actually, modern life in general, but we're focusing mostly on criminals. If you played close attention while playing, you'd probably notice the lack of any relatively innocent characters. Now, this is probably the first giveaway. Not particularly exclusive to GTA 5 though. I mean, it extends even to NPCs. There is, to my knowledge, not a single person in Los Santos that can be considered even passively okay or normal. And no, this isn't a coincidence. Everyone is fucked up in one way or another. While this exaggeration alone doesn't prove my point, the story and especially the characters do. Now, Rockstar is truly a master of its craft when it comes to creating characters, and those characters almost always are representative of something larger. Niko Bellic from GTA 4 was a war veteran who's used to killing and teabagging his opponents, so you see and experience the world through his dark lens. But the crimes he commits are at least somewhat justifiable by I need some money to start my life. Now, of course, it's completely immoral, but the game spins this narrative as Niko Bellic's only way of survival, something he has to do, or the only thing he knows how to do in this dark, fucked up world where everyone seems to be committing crimes. He does it in a more in-your-face, Godfather organized crime kind of way, but GTA 5 presents a new age with a new breed of criminals who don't break the law, at least not on the surface, because that's just old-fashioned.
The last dinosaur in town is about to get fossilized.
what are you talking about?
Look, the movie's nearly done, so if the plug's pulled now, the investors, meaning us, get a massive insurance payout. Meanwhile, I can use that to get the other major shareholder, the old bastard's idiot son, to agree to tear this relic down and let me redevelop the area for condos. And in this economy, the city's gonna let me build tax-free. I might even get some rebates. It is a brilliant thing, and it is all thanks to you and Molly's eye for the details of the insurance policy.
Michael, they're f***ing us! The suits! And they don't even wear suits!
And don't get me wrong, I mean, they're hustlers, but they just hustle differently. At the end of the day, they can do whatever the f they want, anything that brings them more wealth, power, and control, because the reality of the modern world is, if you want to break the law, you have to be above it. I think the characters you see in GTA 5 are chosen very carefully to demonstrate that point. Devin Weston, who primes on capitalism, whatever that is, understands that he can be virtually untouchable if he's never charged with anything to begin with. If he's caught red-handed, he has more than enough connections to get himself out of trouble. That is, even if he gets to that point, which, let's be honest, he's smart enough to avoid. He can't be caught by the system because he is the system, as cliche as that sounds. So high up the fucking food chain that the only way to touch him is brute force, aka a person like Trevor Speed Phillips, of which he himself has plenty. In pure contrast, the three protagonists, Michael, Trevor, and Franklin, are shown as classic criminals, the ones who are all about the chase, the rush, the fast life, and ultimately an even faster death. They're sort of honest criminals. If they rob you, they rob you. That's in your face. And it's much easier to convict a person like that, to paint a picture. They face the consequences of their actions much quicker and more severely because everyone knows and agrees that this is fucking bad.
Oh, stop! Look out!
It doesn't take much to convince others as well, unlike the new age criminals such as Devin Weston or even Steve Haynes, who find themselves very comfortable and are labeled as anything but criminals. GTA 5 also makes fun of you in a very clever way for romanticizing crime, or this way of lifestyle. It doesn't tell you you're a bad person for killing a bunch of people on your way to a bank robbing mission. It doesn't really have to. I mean, you know that the biggest players with the biggest money who stay in the long run aren't guys like Michael Michael, Trevor, or Franklin. But come on, let's be honest, would you really be playing GTA if it was corrupt politician / venture capitalist simulator? Maybe for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds kind of fun. To top it all off, do you seriously think that criminals get happy endings? Anyway, the game is subtle in letting you know that, hey, you realize that this is all completely ridiculous, right? The thing that makes it kind of amazing, I think, is that people generally know that the new age criminals are still criminals, or at the very least, very shady people who can maintain a pretty facade. But because Los Santos is a superficial place, they fit right in. Grand Theft Auto has always been a satirical series with loads of exaggeration and political commentary, with an overblown version of the world, more specifically America, that seems to have normalized crime, and normalized is the key word here. While GTA 5 is pretty much the same in that regard, for the first time ever, we see a take that's a little different from what we're used to. Michael, in particular, shows certain signs of self-awareness of what's happening around him, but an astounding lack of self-awareness, or the willpower to do anything about it. He thinks he isn't really caught out for anything but this, which is committing crimes. That's why he's kind of lost all the time, not knowing exactly where he should be or even what he should be doing. All the three main characters don't quite fit in the world that they live. Michael has always wanted a kind of legacy, to be a role model, and since he didn't choose to pursue anything but crime, and crime equals bad in the eyes of society, he's miserable and lives a pretty pathetic and meaningless life. So much so that even when the movie producer Solomon offered him to be an assistant producer of his shit movie, he agreed. I mean, he literally has nothing else going on, no purpose whatsoever, lost in cliches and daydreaming. Trevor, on the other hand, is kind of an anomaly, being so high on velocity that the choo-choo train has long left the cuckoo station. He acts on his primal instincts in the most feral ways possible. He has a particular hatred for the modern-day criminals as well. And Franklin, being the youngest of the three and the most likely to turn legit, struggles to find his place. He knows that the days of hustling and gangbanging like in the CJ era are over, hence all the constant arguing with Lamar and trying to get out of this lifestyle. If this tale of, oh, I don't quite understand how to fit in, sounds a little too familiar, that's because we got a glimpse in Red Dead Redemption 2, with the obvious era difference, but kind of a similar structure, albeit in GTA, it's more on the side of ridiculous than it is realistic, so this isn't the first time that Rockstar tries to pull something like this. The GTA series also give you instruments to do some really horrific things outside of missions that don't really have any effect on the story whatsoever, they're just kind of there to make fun of you. A subtle reminder that, hey, you didn't really need to set that prostitute on fire after having sex with her, then start slaughtering all the cops on a rampage. We didn't tell you to do that, we put it in the game, but we didn't tell you to do it. The fact that actions like these don't have any consequences in the world of GTA is purely intentional. And I think the popularity of GTA says a lot about our psychology, the part of us that just goes apeshit when we see the green, the blood, the flash, and Grand Theft Auto 5 is the most GTA title ever in that regard. Another factor which sort of limits the number of unique stories you can tell is that, well, they're all too similar. I mean, there's a reason why gangster movies used to be popular, but now they're not. There are only so many criminal rags to riches stories you can tell before you find yourself deep in the ass of stereotypes. It's cyclical, and people lose interest over time, that's just a fact. And I found myself not liking GTA 5 as much as GTA 4 because of its story, and not realizing that it was never meant to be emotional or deep. It was shallow. It has always been shallow since the day it came out, because it was meant to be, on purpose. I mean, I still love the dark story and the realism of GTA 4, at least when it comes to the physics and its engine, and the combat especially, but I think Rockstar's probably gonna continue this arcadey, ridiculous, over-the-top approach with GTA 6, but by the time it releases, I'll be like, what, 62? 5? 69? Well, anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I just wanted to introduce our guest, Mrs. Shakira, to do the outro for us. Give it up for Shakira.
Na 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 na